the minister wrote to me and I received it in the mail, not in the form of an email. You know, those days there was no emailing. And I replied to him by letter, writing to him. So because of that, he was able to call me on the telephone. But I really did not know who he was. He invited me and my husband, Matthew, and the director of Pine and Fushi, also his daughter, the director's daughter, out to his palace in Chicago for dinner. And that night, after dinner, was the first time I got to hear the minister play through the Beethoven Concerto, which he taught himself, that he learned by himself, read it on his own, because this is according to the minister's story. He really wanted somebody from the Chicago area to teach him this concerto. But after he had asked Miss Elaine Foreman, who said to the minister that this violin concerto is the most difficult piece of music for any musician, for any violinist to study and to play the Beethoven violin concerto properly. So since the minister was not a professional, she was very reluctant to teach him. So she just said, you know, minister, I don't even think you could be ready in 10 years. Even I cannot be ready. She said, even I will not be able to be ready in 10 years. Can you imagine? You would like to work and prepare this concerto and perform it in a few months. That's impossible. So that's how it started, where the minister started looking for teachers, and he was not successful. And I was blown away by the fact that he learned it by himself. You know, there were a few little mistakes here and there, mistakes reading the wrong music, the wrong kind of music. But his sound, the type of sound quality, tone quality of his playing was so passionate and so truthful. You know, it was like the truth. See, people say the kind of sound you make out of an instrument, string instrument, is the mirror of your soul. So you can't hide. But that is really the truth. I just heard love and the truth. And I didn't even know what the minister was all about. I just heard the minister was the truth. But that night, he showed me a program, concert program of the Boston Symphony with Mr. Kusowitsky conducting the Boston Symphony with Mr. Heifetz as the soloist, performing the Beethoven Concerto. And that program was autographed by Jascha Heifetz for the minister. At that time, the minister was like 9 or 10 years old. So a few days later, the minister called and asked me if I would consider teaching the minister the Beethoven Concerto. And I told him immediately, yes, of course, I will help you. I will be honored to help you. But in my heart, I felt I need to really try my best to get him ready for when he wanted to perform, which is February 2002. And that February is very special because that's the month when Mr. Heifetz was born. So it was a Jascha Heifetz birthday on the 2nd. Also, it happened to be Kreisler's birthday. Fritz Kreisler, who was also a legendary violinist, who wrote the cadenza to the violin concerto that the minister was going to learn and perform. So it was Jascha Heifetz and Fritz Kreisler's birthday on the same day, February 2nd. But when I called the Cerritos Performing Arts Center in LA, it was already taken. So the next best day, the closest to the birthday of Jascha Heifetz and Fritz Kreisler, was February 13. The time span I spent teaching the minister was one of the most life-changing experience of my life. Those months, starting September, October, November, December, January, February, it was so intense. You know, it's kind of interesting because when you don't know what you have to do, what it entails, because somebody is helping you prepare, the minister wasn't worried at all. I was so worried sick. I was kind of, how am I going to teach this? My gosh, because usually it takes a lifetime span of learning, studying, practicing scales, practicing etudes, developing all the violin techniques necessary to play this violin concerto. And it takes years to develop all those skills. And here I'm trying to do it in 5 months, 6 months. Well, as the minister said, cramming, that is for sure. I think the minister is such a genius to be able to remember all the technical, violin technical skills that I helped him develop in a jiffy. Not easy, you know, but you have to be so disciplined. That is something we could really learn. I mean, I learned something, you know, even I learned something. So, developing violin technique for this particular section in the music. Okay, now we go on to the next one. Oh my goodness, another hurdle I have to overcome. No, not me, the minister. Okay, now we have to focus on this particular technique. Okay, so now we have to go into scales, into exercises, into, you know, it's kind of like how to develop a physical skill. I don't know if it's the same as sports. I don't know. You know, like practicing throwing a ball in a basket over and over and over again until it becomes like second nature, you know. But this one here, the poor minister, you know, he had to practice and practice and practice during the night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was told he was awake and practicing what I had taught him that afternoon because he was so afraid he was going to forget the next day. It was quite an undertaking, I have to say. But with that tenacity, persistence, discipline, hard work for sure, hours and hours, maybe 10, 11, 13 hours per day. So that is basically my experience, preparing the minister a little bit at a time every day. Usually I would be visiting the minister 4 days, 5 days at a time. And then I would go back to Los Angeles because I have work that I have to do. I had no idea that my working with the minister or for the minister, preparing him in this amazing, beautiful adventure, musical adventure, was not very pleasing to many people. So because of that, I lost a lot of friends and I lost jobs. So finally came the time to get ready for the performance. On the day that we had the dress rehearsal at Charles' house, it was wonderful. Wonderful experience. And then I thought, yes, I think the minister is ready to perform in concert. So I was really proud of him. And on the night of the concert, he played so beautifully. I just could not have been more proud of him that evening.